There was a real moment for left and right unity in the culture war and in politics and in everything in when this film was made in 2018, 2019. Like they had an opportunity to say, let's come together, let's put aside the political infighting to do something good, to put something out that's going to really make people care about this issue. And I really cannot think of a way in which this was not a deliberate decision made by people who want this to continue. This is a movie that was made, it was ready to go, it was about something everybody can agree is bad, and it could have actually been a legitimate force for good in the culture, and instead, some bigwig at Disney went, no, I like my little private island down in the Bahamas too much, and I like what goes on there, so I don't want to stop this from happening. Like, I cannot see a way in which this was not a decision made by somebody who is a bit free.
If not that, it's like, what? Then why? Right? Like,
there's no other reason.
Like, you could make the argument, like, look, it's not on brand for us. And it's like,
Disney had it. They did not have to release it as a Disney movie.
Yeah,
it could have been as an ABC movie, 21st Century Fox. Could have been any subsidiary of Disney.
Yeah.
Did not need a Disney logo on it, and they chose not to show it. There is no charitable reason.
Searchlight Pictures, 20th Century. Like, there's an endless amount of ways you could
have sold it off to somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what ends up happening is it takes forever to get the rights back. And
exactly, but that's the thing is, like, they didn't even give them the rights. Like, the movie was made, Disney didn't pay anything for it.
Yeah.
Let's get into Sound of Freedom, which is what I want to talk about.
Sound of Freedom stars Jim Caviezel as Tim Ballard, a person who worked for the Department of Homeland Security for a decade or so, that would go out and stop trialed traffic jamming, if you know what I mean, that have been going on around the world. It seems to be a subject matter that is very deep for sure, but a subject matter that is very relevant, particularly in today's society.
I asked Tim Ballard, who do you want to play you? And he said, Jim Caviezel. I said, but Jim, I know Jim, but Jim is like taller than you, he's older than you, he doesn't look like you.
He's better looking.
And he said, it doesn't matter. He's a man of God, and he's a brilliant actor. And we are looking for an ambassador of freedom, and he can be an ambassador of freedom. Please get Jim Caviezel. Please, please. And I text that day Jim Caviezel. The next day he calls me and he said, Eduardo, and this is a miracle. This is how God works. He said, Eduardo, so I'm in, but I talked to my wife. I told her that I have to go to Colombia to film this movie. I think she just saw Narcos on Netflix, Narcos Colombia on Netflix, and she doesn't want me to go there. Can we film this somewhere else? He said, okay, well, let me call you back. So I called Tim and I said, Tim, I have a good news and a bad news. Good news, Jim is in. The bad news, what I thought was a bad news, you see the story. I think his wife saw Narcos Colombia on Netflix, and she doesn't want him to go there. She's not comfortable him going to Colombia film this movie. So what can we do? And he said, let me think about it. Tell them if 30 ex-Navy SEALs will be enough to protect him. How many? 30 ex-Navy SEALs. Okay, so I passed the message. Done. So we're in Colombia filming, right? So remember I say good news and bad news, right? 3 weeks later, after filming the movie, half of them are not on the set. And I don't want to tell Jim anything, but I know, as a producer, I know who is on set. So it's 200 people on set, and I noticed that half of those guys were not on set. So I didn't ask Tim anything, so I pretend like nothing happened. And month and a half later, I'm reading a local newspaper that it says 23 traffickers were arrested, 200 children were rescued from, they were kidnapped for sexual exploitation for this tourism in Cartagena. I run to see Tim. He said, brother, this is like the movie. And he smiles and he said, that was us. So what? That was us. So thank God for Jim's wife, who said no in the beginning. Because of that no, we have these warriors on set who saved 200 children.
Wow, that's awesome.
And you have to understand that as a filmmaker, Our hope is when the film is finished, when the film comes out, hopefully this film will save one child. On set, while we were filming this movie, 200 children were saved, were rescued in Cartagena, Colombia. So God bless you, brother. God bless your wife.
Okay.
And God bless you all.
So Jim Caviezel's anti-child sex trafficking thriller, it's getting huge, massive pre-sales. People are coming out to see the movie in droves. This is a massive thing, and it's destroying, how can I say this? Child crime supportive movies.
Now, after just about a week in the box office, The Sound of Freedom has rung up nearly $50 million in domestic ticket sales. That is something spectacular when you consider that it was expected only about $20 million in the first 6 days. So the groundswell for this film has been something to behold. This is one of those good old-fashioned grassroots word-of-mouth campaigns that has gone off spectacularly well.
And seeing the meltdown from mainstream media is just insane. So this movie is killing it. It's absolutely killing it. And every time you see this happening, by the way, you guys need to understand what mainstream media is doing, because you have to see what's happening, right? You have to see that they want to promote their agenda movies, and they flip out, the critics, the industry flips out when anything that is not with the agenda, and you know what agenda I'm talking about, they lose their mind. They absolutely lose their mind. And it's just great. So Torgo said here about Sound of Freedom, he said, Sound of Freedom doing well is especially fun since it was originally a Disney product that they dropped from House of Mouse to Flophouse. This is what I love to see. How Disney doesn't want to cover anti-child crime stuff. Well, because they're supporting more and more stuff involving weird people talking to children. As Hugh Jack says, they're going full mask off. They really are. They really, really are. So that I just love to see. And then this is some comments from the Umbrella guys. So this is the Washington Post. This is where they're trying to go with this. So shout out to Tug. This is posted by that Umbrella guy. Shout out to him. But Sound of Freedom, the low-budget film about child sex. So look at the way they start this. Always look at their language. Their language matters, right? The low budget. So they have to call it low budget. You know why they call it low budget? Because they want to associate anything that is efficient and effective and has a small budget as low budget, and low budget as bad. Because low budget, they know that colloquially low budget means low quality. But what this should mean is the super high impact, homemade, artisanal film about child sex trafficking almost topped the box office on July 4th, but its star Jim Caviezel is linked to the QAnon movement. Oh no, here we go. We're going to try to do this shit again. We're going to try to do this shit and linking people through. They try to do it with J6. They're trying to do it with QAnon. You got to be aware of these people. They're going to try to find one person with one thing, a cousin, a brother, whatever else. They're always going to try to do this. But here's the funny thing. Look at what they do here, right? And now, on the flip side, look at what they did with Cuties, okay? Same thing. Washington Post, right? Same thing. Cuties is an unflinching look at what it means to be a preteen girl. So they want you to support Cuties, but they don't want you to support fighting child sex trafficking. They want you to come out here and support this behavior in Cuties. Both of the production itself and what they show in the film. Yeah. This is what, to me, this like flipping between both of these, this is what sickens me in 2024. It is, Cuties is literal child exploitation, but this is what they want. People say not surprising in one bit. No, but we have to call it out. Here's the thing. We got to call this shit out. That this is what they really want. And this is why they get big mad at this stuff. And frankly, this is a line in the sand that I'm willing to take. I'm willing to take a line in the sand and say anything involving the exploitation of children is wrong. Hard stop, full stop. Lowering the age of consent to allow weird adults to try to have sex with children is wrong. Hard stop. We don't need to go down to 12, as some people are pushing for in the minor attracted persons, the MAP community. Yeah, no. Sound of Freedom proved you can do movies on a subject and not exploit kids like cuties. Exactly. Exactly. This is a huge thing when they say, oh yeah, you have to exploit kids. No. No. There's a right way to cast child actors and a wrong way to cast child actors. And the wrong way is to sexualize them. So just understand leaving the kids alone is a thing. And by the way, whenever they try to cancel for anybody for that, for the leave the kids alone stuff, they always end up coming back stronger. They haven't been able to take them out. It just has not happened.
Because the more that you clamp down on speech, the more extreme that speech becomes, the less truth you have. And the less truth you have, the more reliant you are on those who have the truth, which in this case would be the federal government. That's what I mean by control. That's what I mean by the truth sets you free. That's what I mean by the truth has power that is inherent in truth. That's why it's empowering to read. That's why it's empowering to go and gain an education, to learn, to ask questions, to debate. It is literally empowering. This was me ranting when I saw mainstream reviews of Sound of Freedom lost my mind. You know what's funny is I actually watched Sound of Freedom. I know Tim Ballard. He supported me in my race. Great guy. Worked really hard in ending sex trafficking and the sex trade slave trade in the ways that he could with his organization.
Traveling around the world with his team undercover, rescuing children who were kidnapped for sexual exploitation. Children, 3-year-old boys, 5, 6, 7-year-old girls who are being raped 10 to 15 times a day for many years. And after the client doesn't want them anymore because they're not fresh anymore, they jump into the second business in the black market of organs traffic. They open them and sell their parts. And I was in shock.
Gotcha.
I was in shock. And he said to me, Eduardo, it's very sad what I'm telling you. But it's more sad now that you know if you do nothing. It's more sad than now that you know it, if you do nothing, what are you going to do?
Right.
I asked myself and I asked God, what can I do to end child trafficking? I'm a filmmaker. I have I don't know how these guys, they manage weapons, right? They're experts. I said to Tim, I have a weapon of mass instruction and inspiration, film,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna use it. So I made a promise to God that I will dedicate my life to end child trafficking through the art, through film.
I know a lot of people who donated a lot to it, and I know that our Attorney General has been instrumental in bringing sunlight to those issues and actually prosecuting them. I only wish that our DA was as intrigued in ending sex slavery and human trafficking as is Tim Ballard.